There are books you read once and forget. And then there are books that seem to meet you at a different stage of your life every time you open them. Meditations is one of those books. Marcus Aurelius didn't write it to become famous. He wasn't writing for an audience. Much of it was a private record of his thoughts, reminders, and struggles as he tried to become a better person while carrying the enormous responsibilities of being a Roman emperor. And that's what makes the book so interesting. You're not reading the words of someone who had a perfect life. You're reading the thoughts of someone who had power, wealth, responsibility, illness, loss, conflict, and uncertainty, and still had to wake up the next morning and deal with himself. That's where the first lesson begins. You don't control everything that happens to you, but you have a say in what happens inside you. Think about how much of your day can be controlled by someone else. Someone sends you a rude message. Your boss changes your plans. A friend stops responding. Someone misunderstands you. Something you've worked hard for doesn't work out. Suddenly, your mood belongs to the situation. Marcus Aurelius kept returning to a different idea. Separate what belongs to you from what doesn't. You can't control another person's behavior. You can't control whether everyone respects you. You can't control the past. You can't guarantee what tomorrow will bring. But you can control your response. You can decide whether anger gets the final word. You can decide whether disappointment turns into bitterness. You can decide whether someone else's behavior changes the kind of person you want to be. That sounds simple. Living it is much harder, because most of us don't suffer only from what happens. We suffer from the story we create around what happens. Someone doesn't text back, and suddenly your mind creates 10 explanations. Someone criticizes you, and you replay the conversation all night. One mistake happens at work, and your mind turns it into a prediction about your entire future. The event may last 30 seconds. Your mind can keep it alive for 3 days. Marcus Aurelius understood that the mind can become its own battlefield, and if you don't learn to govern it, everything outside you starts governing you. That's why one of the most powerful lessons in meditations is not about controlling the world. It's about controlling yourself, not perfectly, not every second, just enough to create a little space between what happens and what you do next. That space matters, because between an event and your reaction, there is a choice. Someone insults you. You don't have to return the insult. Someone loses their temper. You don't have to lose yours. Someone treats you unfairly. You can still choose to act with dignity. That's not weakness. That's self-command. And Marcus Aurelius had another lesson that becomes especially powerful when life gets difficult. Stop demanding that reality be different before you allow yourself to be at peace. A lot of people live this way without realizing it. I'll be happy when I make more money. I'll relax when this problem is solved. I'll be at peace when that person finally understands me. I'll feel confident when everything starts going my way. But life rarely gives you a permanent version of everything is going my way. One problem disappears, another takes its place. You finish one goal, then you find another. You solve one relationship problem, then life gives you another conversation to have. If your peace depends on perfect circumstances, your peace will always be temporary. Marcus lived through wars, political pressure, illness, personal loss, and the instability of an enormous empire. He didn't have the luxury of waiting for life to become easy, so he practiced something more useful. Accept the situation you are in, then ask what can be done from there. There's a big difference between acceptance and giving up. Acceptance says, this is happening. Giving up says, nothing I do matters. Stoicism chooses the first. You acknowledge reality without wasting your strength fighting the fact that it already happened. You lost the opportunity, okay? What can you do now? Someone walked away. Okay, How will you carry yourself now? You made a mistake. Fine. What can you learn from it? That shift can save you enormous amounts of energy, because fighting reality doesn't change reality. Your response does. And this leads to another lesson from meditations that people often overlook. Your character matters more than your reputation. Marcus Aurelius was an emperor. He had status that most people could never imagine. But he repeatedly brought himself back to basic human qualities: honesty, patience, courage, fairness, self-control. Why? Because status is outside you. Character is inside you. Someone can praise you today and criticize you tomorrow. People can misunderstand you. They can change their opinion. They can leave. They can judge you based on things they don't even know. If your identity depends on their approval, you'll spend your life trying to manage other people's opinions. You can't. And that's exhausting. A better question is, am I acting like the person I respect? That's a question you can actually answer. Maybe nobody noticed that you stayed calm. Maybe nobody thanked you for being patient. Maybe nobody saw the moment you chose not to say something cruel. It still matters. Character is built in moments nobody applauds. And that brings us to one of the hardest lessons in the book. People will disappoint you. Marcus Aurelius understood human behavior well enough to expect selfishness, dishonesty, arrogance, and ignorance from others, not because he hated people. Quite the opposite. He believed we are social beings and that we should live with others rather than against them. But expecting human beings to be imperfect makes disappointment easier to handle. Think about how different a relationship feels when you stop expecting someone to never make mistakes. You can still have boundaries. You can still walk away from harmful behavior. You can still say, that wasn't okay. Stoicism doesn't ask you to tolerate everything. It asks you not to become poisoned by what another person does. There's a difference. You can leave the room without carrying the argument with you for the next 6 hours. You can end a relationship without spending the next year trying to destroy the other person's reputation. You can disagree with someone without making hatred part of your identity. That is strength with boundaries. And perhaps one of the most practical lessons Marcus Aurelius left behind is this: your time is limited. We know that intellectually, but we rarely live like we know it. We spend hours worrying about people we don't even like. We argue online with strangers we'll never meet. We replay conversations that cannot be changed. We chase approval from people who may not even be thinking about us. Meanwhile, the day is moving. One morning becomes another, 1 year becomes another, and eventually you realize that a lot of the things that once consumed you weren't worth the amount of life you gave them. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminded himself of mortality, not as a dark obsession, as a way of staying awake to life. If you knew your time was limited, would you spend so much of it trying to prove yourself? Would that argument still matter? Would that person's opinion carry the same weight? Would you keep postponing the things that actually matter to you? Mortality has a strange way of making priorities clearer, and maybe that's why meditation still feels relevant. Marcus Aurelius lived nearly 2,000 years ago. His world had no smartphones, no social media, no modern technology, but human problems haven't changed as much as we like to think. People still worry about being respected. People still fear rejection. People still compare themselves to others. People still struggle with anger. People still want control over things they cannot control. People still search for peace outside themselves. That's why his private reflections still speak to modern life. Because the technology changed, the human mind didn't. So perhaps the greatest lesson from meditations isn't a complicated philosophy. It's a way of approaching an ordinary day. Wake up and accept that you won't control everything. Do your work anyway. Meet difficult people without becoming difficult yourself. When something goes wrong, deal with what is actually in front of you. When anger rises, give yourself a moment before acting. When someone judges you, ask whether their opinion deserves your attention. When you make a mistake, correct it instead of building your identity around it. And when the day ends, ask yourself a quiet question. Did I live according to the person I want to be? Not, did everyone approve of me? Not, did everything go my way? Just, did I live well? Because that's where the philosophy becomes real. Not when you're reading meditations, not when you're listening to a video about Marcus Aurelius, but when someone pushes your patience tomorrow morning, and you choose not to lose yourself. When life disappoints you, and you keep moving. When nobody gives you recognition, and you continue doing what you believe is right. When the future is uncertain, and you focus on the part of life that is actually in your hands. You don't need to become Marcus Aurelius. You don't need to become perfectly calm. You don't need to eliminate every negative thought. You're human. The goal is much simpler. Become a little harder to control from the outside, a little slower to anger, a little less dependent on approval, a little more disciplined with your attention, a little more honest with yourself, and a little more willing to accept life as it comes while still doing your part to make it better. That may be the real lesson hidden inside meditations. You don't need to control the whole world to live a good life. You need to learn how to govern the small kingdom you actually have. Your choices, your attention, your character, and your response. And if you can do that consistently, even an ordinary life can become a meaningful one. If you enjoyed this video and found something valuable in the lessons of Marcus Aurelius, please like, share, and subscribe to Stoic Mindset. More Stoic wisdom is coming your way.